Thank you, Chair Sanders. Before beginning, Director Walensky, I think we all express sympathy for the family of the CDC employee killed yesterday. It's always a tragedy, but you to represent that family, we feel it in particular. Today, we're discussing an important responsibility of the committee, the reauthorization of the Bipartisan Pandemic and All Hazards Preparedness Act, or PAHPA. Now, many will focus on the word pandemic, which is obviously a big part of the discussion, but we need to keep in mind the wide array of threats that this bill seeks to address, not just diseases, but natural disasters, attacks, accidents, other things that could put our country at risk. I feel connected to the origins of this bill, although I was not in Congress at the time. PAHPA was first enacted in 2006, largely to address the failures of the federal response following Hurricane Katrina. And anybody from Louisiana saw firsthand the devastating impact on a community when governments are ill-equipped and ill-prepared to manage a crisis. So PAHPA sought to support states, local governments, and hospitals so that they would be better prepared for future emergencies. It established the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, or ASPR, the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, BARDA, a lot of long things, of course, you come up with awkward-sounding acronyms. And it also made improvements to the Strategic National Stockpile so that vaccines, treatments, and tests could be easily available during an emergency. In both 2013 and 19, Congress acted in a bipartisan way to reauthorize the bill, and this year, Senators Romney and Casey are spearheading this work with the committee. Now, we don't always agree, but we set politics aside and come together on reauthorizing PAHPA. We know PAHPA is critical to protecting the health, safety, and security of us all. As we saw during the COVID-19 response, the PAHPA framework is far from perfect. Poor management and maintenance of the Strategic National Stockpile meant that doctors and nurses were forced to use expired PPE. Or one picture I remember is like a huge quantity of masks being dumped right as the pandemic was starting because they were 2 weeks from being expired. It certainly wasn't a first in, first out sort of manage the inventory type situation. And I think we can say that in some ways, government hampered the private sector's ability to quickly launch tests at the onset of the pandemic, and government clearly failed, consistently and clearly failed to communicate with the public. Now, that's gone. Let's get better. We made mistakes, we learned some tough lessons, so let's work together to make it so that next time it isn't on the fly that we're figuring it out, rather there are systems that we can put into place. Update the playbook and make sure that whatever we do, it's flexible enough to address the threats beyond just a pandemic. And emphasizing, we need to look towards the threats of the future, not just prepare for that one which is already gone by. Being good stewards of limited taxpayer resources and better partners with states and the private sector so that we are all ready and willing to step in when the next public health threat comes our way. To accomplish this, the committee will need to work on a bipartisan way to enact meaningful policies to make our country safer and better prepared to work towards a consensus. I'm committing to getting this bill done. I thank you for being here. I look forward to hearing your testimony. And with that, Mr. Chair, I yield.